Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar presentation, Analyzing Your Competition. How to successfully position your company in the marketplace and identify where market opportunities exist. Today's webinar is presented on behalf of SCORE Hudson Valley and Greater New York chapters, Dutchess, Long Island, Orange, Putnam, Queens, Rockland, Staten Island, Ulster, and Westchester. Next slide. Next slide, Eric.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, again, list of our chapters. Please don't hesitate to reach out to request a mentor or follow up on today's webinar. Next slide. Some housekeeping notes for everyone. Everyone is muted throughout the presentation. As we go, please submit your questions in the Q&A button. The chat is disabled. We'll answer as many questions as possible after the presentation. Next slide. Most businesses understand the principle of trying to offer something better than their competitors are offering. However, before you can gain an advantage over your competitors, you need to know who they are and what they offer. Every company has a unique set of strengths, and it's important to determine yours as well as your competitors. This webinar will help you to analyze your competition and perform a SWOT analysis, which looks at your company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The takeaways today: analyze your competitor as it is now, not the last time you thought about it. A SWOT analysis for 2023, your business strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and learn to successfully position the company for the right opportunities. Next slide, please. Next slide. Our presenter today is Eric J. Tomasi. He's a Vice President and Senior Commercial Relationship Manager at TD Bank. Eric has been in the banking industry for 34 years, including 10 years in retail banking and over 20 years supporting small businesses and professional banking clients. In a previous role, Eric has also worked with the SBA financing and gained expertise in SBA guaranteed lending, focusing on supporting small business clients. Eric is involved with the community, serving on several nonprofit boards, and currently sits on the Volunteer Leadership Council of the American Cancer Society. Without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Eric.
Thanks very much, Bill. And before I get started, I'm just going to set my timer here so I stick to the right time. Excuse me one moment. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our workshop. As Bill said, I'm Eric Tomasi, commercial lender at TD Bank. TD and I are happy to partner with SCORE to bring you today's afternoon's information. The name of the workshop is Analyzing Your Competition. This workshop is intended for business owners who want to learn how to achieve a competitive advantage by understanding its competitors. Hopefully, I'll provide some practical strategies for you to take away to this afternoon, and hopefully some ideas that you can implement right away in your own businesses. As Bill said, I encourage to ask questions and put them into the Q&A section. I've been doing this for more than 30 years, so I'll also try to add some of my experiences into the presentation. Hopefully keep it a little more interesting than just reading the slides to you. So let's get started. Analyzing your competition. Most businesses understand the principle of, Bill read this earlier in the introduction, but trying to offer something better than their competitors are offering. However, before you can gain an advantage over your competitors, you need to know who they are and what they offer. Every company has a unique set of strengths, and it's important to determine yours as well as your competitors. The seminar will help you analyze your competition and perform a SWOT analysis, which looks at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This analysis will help you successfully position your company in the marketplace and identify where market opportunities exist. And we certainly see this in the banking industry as well. Market conditions direct us where we put our efforts and our resources. The bank itself and our clients many times recognize strengths and focus their efforts in these areas that they can provide a strategic advantage. You know, it's funny, some banks do things better than others, and many times I'll get calls from colleagues and other institutions saying, hey, I can't help this client with this particular need. Perhaps you can. So you'll find differences between yourself and your competitors out there. Competitive intelligence. To gain a marketing advantage, you must first understand the nature of your competition and the dynamics and trends of your marketplace. Then use that knowledge to take advantage of opportunities and avoid threats. The critical tool to achieve that marketing edge is called competitive intelligence. CI, competitive intelligence, is the practice of gathering, analyzing, and disseminating information on what the marketplace requires, how you and your competitors meet those requirements, and how each strives to meet market needs better than the other. And again, you may choose to focus on a strength that you've recognized in your own company, or enter an arena that you determine you can offer value or service to a client better than your competition, and take advantage of that. Competitive intelligence. How do you gather in competitive intelligence? You can gather CI from a variety of sources, visit your competitors' websites, request their marketing materials, walk into their stores, talk with their sales agents. There are many ways to learn about your competition. Some of the other things I thought about is talking to your suppliers can gain insights into what others are doing, and they want to sell you more. So I think they're willing to talk to you about some of your competition as well. Talk to your clients. What else might you be able to uncover what you're not delivering to them today, and see if there's opportunities that you might want to get into to help your existing client base. Trade association meetings, I think, is a great place to talk to your competition and find out more about what they're doing. Another place is trade shows. Visit the booths of your competitors and your suppliers and see what you can find out there. I think are opportunities for you to gather that intelligence. Analyzing your competition. When analyzing your competition, find out the basic details. For example, what products and services do they offer? And how do they compare to what you're doing? Who is their target audience? Does it match up against yours? Exactly. What is their marketing message? How are they positioning their brand? What are their guarantees, pricing, delivery options, hours of operation? What is their competitive advantage? There's a whole list of other questions. Some of them, how many competitors do you have? Why are they successful or struggling? How much of the market share do you have compared to your competitors? Do they service a local geography or more of a national? Are you competing against large competitors or smaller, similar to your size company? What do your competitors do well? Where do you think they need improvement? In what ways is the business superior to your business superior to the competition? And where do you think they have advantages over you? All of these questions will help you get a better understanding of your competition and help you as you do your SWOT analysis. Now think about your business and see if these strategies will work for you. Can you, number one, segment your market to focus on a niche market that is not being met by your competitors? And most recently, I met a physical security company where we had conversations about how they approach their market, and they really offered two types of services. One, personnel, providing security personnel to a business or an event, and the other was training information and site risk assessment. And they found that the competition in the personnel side was very strong. It was low margined, but they were really gaining ground in the training and the risk assessment, especially in schools where there's been, infiltration and mass shootings and so forth. So they're really pivoting and focusing on that new niche of risk assessment, and it's helping their business grow. It's a good example of what that means. Better position your marketing to connect with your target audience. And I think you look at, are you blanketing a wide range of the market, or are you targeting those folks that use your service or product? Technology today is really detailed, and the demographics that you can target is pretty incredible. So that's something you certainly want to look at. Position your brand to meet the audience's needs more effectively. Talk to your clients and understand what they need, and are you able to provide more to them. Increasing hours of operation or delivery to meet the needs of your target audience. Will this pay for the additional cost it'll be? I think a good example is TD Bank itself. Our strategy is, and we call ourselves America's most convenient bank, because we try to stay open when our customers are not at work and can come into our offices, our stores. Price your product or service to beat your competitors. Can you offer a better guarantee or warranty? And I would just say with this bullet point on price, be cautioned. Anybody can sell at a lower price to your competition. You really want to understand what your costs are, what your margins are. And I recommend, working with your CPA and doing that cost analysis if you're planning on doing anything with price. And then the last bullet point is a repeat. I guess it was an important point. Segment your target market to focus on a niche market. Analyzing your competition further. As you prepare your plan to compete against competitors, it's also important to ensure your company is as stable, strong, and prepared as possible. To ensure this, a business owner should consider evaluating his or her own business with a microscope. Some businesses are afraid to look too close, but that can be dangerous. The old mantra is, what I don't know can't hurt me, does not hold true in business. You can look back to that bullet point on pricing. Is it the right tactic? Analyze and be agile, be able to pivot. Seek assistance from your advisors, your CPA I mentioned. SCORE is a terrific resource to use to get information and guidance. Talk to your banker, talk to your attorney. I think all of them are great sources. One thing you can count on is change. Analyze what you do, put in place. Did you give it enough time? Did it work? Does it need tweaking? And it reminds me of an episode on the History Channel I saw about the businesses that changed America. And they did a segment on Entenmann's bakery. And as they were growing and wanting to expand and selling to grocery stores, they weren't very successful. They were doing a traditional bakery box, and they were competing with the in-store bakeries. But a simple change, they put a cellophane window on their box so people could see their product. And that simple change was history, and they just exploded with sales, and the success came soon after. So I think it's a good example of this. So the SWOT analysis, looking at your strengths, weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. This is a analysis I did personally in the banking world. I moved into a market in New Jersey. It was new for the institution I worked for. It was right in the middle of the 2008 recession. This was our only market, our only office in the market. No one knew our brand. No one knew me. At the time, there was tremendous turmoil in the market, and looking at our strength, the institution was very strong and stable and weathered the recession very well. And I used that as a way to get in the door, and it worked really well. So at that height of uncertainty, that stability was a way I recognized that I could get in. So first you want to start by considering your company's strong points. This should be from both your own and your customer's point of view. Think about how you service your customers. What benefits your company offers customers? Is it a convenience? Is convenience a factor? Do you offer something unique? Is your product or service cutting edge? Is it speed to market and on time supplying, that sort of thing might come into play. The next thing, you want to look at your company's weaknesses, not only from your perspective, but also from the perspective of your competitors. It's sometimes difficult to think about and discuss your weaknesses, but it's best to be realistic now and deal with issues as soon as possible. What can your company be doing better in the areas of customer service? Price. Are you priced properly? Turnaround time, and delivery time. Hours of operation. Product line. I want to give an example on product line. I have a longtime customer that I've worked with in the Nordic ski industry. And the product line was very, it was European, very traditional. The producers were unwilling to change. They didn't want to do anything different. So he was having a lot of difficulty getting what he wanted to supply to the market. And what was in his mind was, instead of focusing on racing and that high end, is to look at the recreational skier, the middle to low end, and the big names in the industry did not want to accommodate him. They didn't want to change their styles. So he found other producers. He changed, gave them his ideas, and he created a new niche for him outside of that and allowed him to grow his business. Employees is another area that you want to consider. Do you have the right folks in place in the roles in your company? Technology, very important. Is there any worry of being obsolete? Do you have the right technology to deliver to your clients properly? And is the investment in that technology going to give you the return on the investment that you're looking for? All things to consider. So although we don't like to think about them, we all face threats to our business. Oh, did I skip one? Okay, I did not. We face threats to the business. Many times threats to our business are out of our control, such as a downturn in the economy, a shift in market demographics, or perhaps a new mega corporation opening your local area. It is critical to think about and be prepared for such events. I think there's a couple of classic examples here that we all think about. One is Blockbuster video stores. Streaming, really, they didn't take the leap to streaming and they're no longer around. Another one to cite is Kodak. When digital photography came around, they didn't embrace that, and they're a fraction of the size that they once were. I could also talk to that example I used already on my Nordic ski client, importer. The Nordic ski industry, cross-country skiing, is very reliant on the weather. And as we've seen weather patterns change and less snow in many areas, that's a threat to his business. You can't make snow for cross-country trails. So he took a step back and decided that he wanted to get into the used alpine space, started seeking out sources for used alpine. He was selling to his same customer base. They were in demand for that product as well. And he was less reliant on good and bad seasons of snowfall. And again, allowed him to grow, and he's doubled the size of his business because of that. Next, here are the opportunities. It's a little out of order in the SWOT anagram, but next considers areas in your market that offer you room to grow. Opportunities can come from changes in technology, changes in government policy related to your industry, changes in social patterns, the demographic market, your customers' lifestyle changes, and a local event such as a closing of a competitor near you. As you complete your SWOT analysis, you'll be in a better position to develop a strategic plan that takes into account your competition, the market trends, customer needs, your company's ability to compete in the marketplace. Don't get complacent because things are going to always change. This is an analysis that you want to complete every year and look at regularly. Don't do this and put it in the drawer. Whatever you may implement or decide to change, take a look at it, see if it's working. Maybe it needs a tweak, maybe it doesn't, but this is something that should be an ongoing process. Your plan should be aimed at allowing all members of your organization or investors to understand your market position and how your company plans to compete. If you completed all the questions, great. It's a lot of work to put this together, but you really need to take the time, really analyze and learn about your business and your competitors. I think one of the things that it helps with too is being able to articulate this will help you raise capital, whether it's from traditional banking sources or from equity sources as well. You know, you're working hard to run your business every day. Taking the time to take a step back and think about these things will really be beneficial. You're probably thinking about these things, and hopefully this SWOT analysis will give you that framework to put it on paper and come to some conclusions of what you may want to implement. I talked about this a little bit on the last slide. How does analyzing your competition help you access capital? Well, folks that are providing capital are going to look at the 5 C's of credit, the character, what's the management, how have they paid their bills, credit score is taken into consideration, capacity, the ability to make your payments, capital, do you have the capital to support the business going forward, collateral, what do you put up to get that money, and in a worst case scenario. But I think what's not listed in that bullet point over to the right is conditions. And conditions is really what the market is providing and what's changing in the market and how you position yourself within that. This analysis will also help you employ that capital in an efficient and effective way so that you're getting the best use of it. I think it'll really add to investing in the right places and getting the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak. With that, I want to thank you for your attention. I wanted to bring your attention to some resources besides using SCORE. TD Bank has a business resource center that's available to the public. It's free access. You do not have to be a customer to access the information. And there's some great video tutorials as well, creating a competitive advantage, preparing a balance sheet. There's things to download. There's also some information on the personal side that will help you as you grow your business as well. This is my contact information. Please stay in touch. If there's any questions, if I can help in any way, please reach out. My cell number is probably the best place to reach me, or through an email. This deck will be provided by Bill to the folks participating today. So this will be sent out to you, and please take advantage. Hopefully we've given you some takeaways that you can implement immediately in your business. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Bill and see if there was any questions.
Well, first, Eric, thank you very much for all the insight in terms of how to properly analyze your competition as well as yourself. We
Thank
do have several questions here, and we'll get started with those. First one, are there any antitrust laws or legalities or compliance requirements that I should be aware of when contacting competition for intelligence?
That's a good question. I guess that's a question for an attorney. I don't think it's you're not colluding on pricing. I think that's a concern. You're certainly not, hey, let's agree to set pricing at this. You're just trying to understand what they're doing, how they set themselves apart. I don't think that type of information, and you're not going in and trying to find out who their customers are and undercutting their ability to do business. You're simply trying to understand so that you get some ideas or compete with them. But if there's significant concern about that, certainly talk to an attorney. But again, I think it mostly would come from trying to collude and fix pricing, and that's not what we're talking about. We just want to understand where we fit in the market with the competition, and how do we position ourselves properly within that. I hope that answers the question properly.
And I think also just to add to that, you're looking for publicly available information and not looking for proprietary information. So
Right.
I think that's a key right there. Next, how should a service provider navigate a client who wants a guaranteed outcome from your service?
Well, I think you need to analyze it within your business model. And if that creates a risk for you that is not palatable, I think you sit down and have a discussion on how to come to terms. And if it's something that's going to be a non-starter for you, maybe you move on. But it's a good question. But certain things customers are demanding, and they want certain outcomes. But if you can't guarantee it, I think you can't offer that unless you know you're gonna be able to deliver on what they want. I think certain businesses are clear. You need this product, it's physical, this is what you asked for, and in a certain time frame. And then there's others, and then in that, if there's a contract involved and you don't meet it, and you can live by the consequences of that, then by all means. But if not, I think you just say, look, this is not a science, and I can't guarantee. We think this is the best approach, and it should provide results, but I think that's probably your best bet. Bill, anything to add to that? It's not an easy question.
Well, I think part of that is having a reasonable scope of service with either benchmarks or milestones along the way. So again, you can really follow through and not get to the end and then decide there's an issue. So I think that's another way to approach it.
Yep.
Next one, are new startups able to get credit cards?
New startups can get credit. Can they get credit cards? I can say this: there is credit available to startups. The SBA is a great facilitator for startups. It's a type of business that they're trying to encourage and grow economic development. But I think you need to be well prepared. With a business plan. Have you thought it out well? Projections on and not only the numbers, the projections, your income and expenses, and what you're expecting to make, but your balance sheet, and why you think you're going to meet those projections, the assumptions in them. Do you have experience in that business that you're going out on your own and starting? Will be important. There's a lot to consider. And if you do the right work up front, and there's resources, I think SCORE, there's small business development centers that can help you as you're starting your business to help put that plan together. I have some materials that if you're in that stage and you want some guidance, I can send some things out to you. If you'd like to contact me, be happy to talk to you further on that. But credit cards in specific probably are going to be looking at your personal credit, and might be able to do something for a business that's been around for less than a year or two. But you might have to find that right provider that's willing to do it. Not all will. There are some options where you put up a cash deposit that helps get some credit under the business name for a while, and then look to release that. But I think the best bet is to have a full executed plan, go to an institution and see if the SBA is a starting point, is probably your best bet, so that you get enough. A credit card doesn't always provide the amount of capital, and being undercapitalized to start a business could be a death knell. So you want to make sure you plan it out, know exactly what you need, and have enough working capital to build up to get some business in the door as well.
Next is complimentary comment and very helpful information and a thank you.
Thank you.
Next is, I am a small business owner who banks with TD. We are looking for a line of credit. What do you recommend?
So we do have a group of small business lenders, certainly here in our office, that can help you through the process. But there's, there's a depending on what you recognize as small, there's a whole series of lines that are available. But on the small business side, it's generally a line that connects to your checking account. You have access to move it in and out of your checking, take advances, pay it back as you see need fit. And on those smaller lines, generally, 50 to just under $1 million, you don't have to clean them up every year. But we also caution, you want to match your funding. You don't want to draw on a line and use it to buy equipment that you're going to use for 5 years. You want to use that line of credit for your operating cycle. What it takes you to use the cash, make a sale, create a receivable if you do or not, get the supplies you need to fulfill the orders. And then once you get your receivables in or you get payment, you pay it down, it's available for you there to do it again and repeat that cycle. You just want to make sure you're using the right type of financing for the right type of use, and lines are generally to work that operating cycle that you have. And that's turning cash into cash after a sale.
And thank you. Next is there any software you recommend to help me with creating a SWOT?
I don't know of any off the top of my head. But again, the presentation we sent out, and again, I do it on a Word document. You can, when I did it years ago, it was on a piece of paper. Moving into that market and strengths, what I felt, and looking at my competition and knowing who I was up against. And but no, I'm sorry, I don't have any specific software that I can recommend.
I'm not aware of any software either, but I would suggest that you reach out to your local SCORE chapter or your current mentor for assistance and guidance on how to conduct a SWOT analysis.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
Next is, we are in the education consulting business in New York City, and it is very difficult to find information concerning our competitors' pricing for their services. What do you recommend as a strategy to ascertain their prices?
I'm sorry, Bill, was that pricing on the competition?
Yeah, that's pricing on the competition, trying to find out what the competitor charges for their service.
Yeah, I think one of the ways you may want to do it is do a blind shop. Make a phone call and say, I'm interested in. If you're comfortable doing that, I think it's a good way to kind of understand how your competition is approaching the market, and say, hey, I'm shopping, I'm looking, and I'll let you know. And that could be a way to ascertain what you're looking for if you're having difficult finding it out there. Maybe talk to some of the clients or the prospects that you're going after, and if you don't win a contract or a sale, go back and say, hey, do you mind if I talk to you? Where did we miss? Was our pricing in line? That might give you some insight as a way that you might not feel you're being as underhanded that way or sneaky. But I don't think either of those opportunities or methods is wrong or problematic. I think you can get a good amount of information either way.
What tools do you use to research competitors and companies like, say, Nielsen? Should we be using library data?
Bill, can you repeat that? I'm sorry. I
Sure.
got the full.
Yeah. What tools do you use to research competitors and companies like, say, a Nielsen? shall we be using library data? Again, I very often refer my clients to go to the research librarian at any public library, have them show you the different resources that are available and databases that are available to get to specific information. It's just a tool that I use, so I very extensively refer people to the library.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a lot of information you can gain there. I think there's so much information out on websites and digging into when I'm looking for prospecting myself, I dig into websites. There are some tools that we have, industry tools. Dun& Bradstreet is one. There's a entity out there called Vertical IQ that is specific to banking that talks about industries and what their challenges are. And that might, if you look up those sorts of things for your own industry, it might give you some insight as well. And but yeah, I think there's an industry associations, trade associations that could provide information as well that you might
Right.
want to go after.
Next question, does TD offer a credit card for startups specifically? I just started and was wondering, should I branch out to my current banks or go out to a new bank like yours?
I would ask that you send me an individual email from my contact. I can't answer that off the top of my head. Unfortunately, in the different area of the bank, and I'm fairly new to TD. So I'm sorry. I will get that information and either provide it to Bill, or if you want to reach out to me via email directly, I'm better off giving you a correct answer than a guess at this time. But thanks for asking.
Fair enough. If you have a line of credit is detrimental not using it, you should use it even if it's not needed in order to keep it open. So apparently, yeah,
It's a good question. I think there's probably a couple thoughts on that. Look, the bank has, when the bank offers a committed line, they have to put reserves against that, potential borrowing. And so even though there's a line out there and it's not being used, there might be a cost to the bank still. So the bank always likes to see it being used and that there's a need for it. But I don't counsel clients to use credit that they don't, to borrow when they don't need to. If you're in a position where you don't need to borrow, I'd much rather have a healthier client. But if there's some opportunity that you can take advantage of to use it for a short period, I think that's always a positive from any bank looking at it. So if you find yourself in the future needing an increase because there's an opportunity that you want to go after and you haven't ever used it, you might have to prove that there's a need. And so using it in the past might not make it easier if there is a need for more down the road. But again, I think, using it for short periods, there's, you can use a line of credit for a tool if you're buying supplies or inventory. You can take advantage of discounts by paying quicker than getting terms, and that might be an advantage to you. So there's some strategies to use if you're not finding need for it that you can use and show the bank that there is a use for it. But again, I would say if you're not needing to borrow, to do it just to say I'm using it, I'd probably counsel against that. It won't hurt you.
next, for competitive analysis, it looks like Dun & Bradstreet offers a $139 a year option to access business information snapshot. Is this credible?
I think they're a well-respected source of information, businesses, and they're doing some of the work. I think that we're saying, they're calling businesses and asking them questions and entering it to their database. But I think there's more than just Dun and Bradstreet that are resources, I think, on state levels and so forth. It's a good point, and I think I'll look to, maybe add to this presentation resources where you can find that type of information. And I'll see if I can do some research and provide that to Bill to send out to the group. But there should be more than just Dun and Bradstreet, but they are a very large, credible entity.
Right, that's correct. Wes is a good comment and also another good source. Love mystery shopping. Great way to get to know what the competition is doing. They are doing it to me. And I think that's a pretty fair comment. So, and it is another great source to find out what's going on. And I think that is, just one more just came in. Where does TD stand with all these banks flopping all over the place? Is TD stable to be banking with during a time when there's so much turmoil in banking?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. It is a difficult time in the industry, but I think TD is well positioned. We're ranked, capital position is over twice the requirement by the regulators at over 15%. We're well positioned in terms of our diversity and our client base, who lending and deposit sources. Some of the things that got folks in trouble is not the things that TD. We're a large bank, and I think folks have been looking to that larger stability in this tough time. But FDIC insurance is out there for anything over, anything under 250,000. There's ways to structure, on the personal side at least, different titles on accounts to protect more. So if you've got less than 250,000 in a bank, you don't have to worry too much. They make good on it. Another bank generally comes in and takes those banks over and honors those deposits, et cetera. So, be cautious, be certain about who you're working with, and hopefully the worst is behind us and things have stabilized, but we'll see. I think we're moving into a better place, but again, TD is well positioned for not being in a difficult scenario that we've seen in the past months.
Again, another thank you and another appreciation for the additional information. So, again, looks like we've got all the questions, Eric. If you go with the next chart.
Thank you all for the questions. Really appreciate it.
So just for next month's webinar is on the June 21st at 1 o'clock. To be legal considerations for small businesses. And I want to take the opportunity to thank Eric again for a very informative presentation, and also the handling of all the questions. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you, and I thank everybody for joining us today. And if you just bring up the next slide. And thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all for attending. Thanks for your attention, and thank you, Bill. Appreciate the partnership.
We appreciate it as well, Eric. Thank you.